and we have gone forward another 5 years in our alternate universe, where the Total Extreme Wrestling AI book the Attitude Era, and now they have booked the Ruthless Aggression Era. We are in 2005, and straight away there are two things which are standing out to me on this first screen. If you like this video though, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe where I'm going to be doing. There's going to be 3 more parts of this video. We're going to get this entire series all the way up to 2020. Have this booked from 95 to 2020. 96 even to 2020. But we're going to do that. Make sure you like and subscribe if you want to see that. For 2 things which stand out to me though on this first page is Wrestler of the Year in the year 2004 was the Ultimate Warrior. And WCW Starrcade happened. Which means in 2004, WCW is still alive, and in fact they won Company of the Year. Tag Team of the Year goes to Shawn Michaels and Hulk Hogan. Match of the Year goes to Mark Callis versus the Giant and Eddie Guerrero. Oh, Mark Callis is in WCW. We'll go into detail on each show in a while. WCW Slamboree was held in May. Colt Cabana is the Young Wrestler of the Year. Hulk Hogan's the Veteran Wrestler of the Year. And Kanako Matoya is the Female Wrestler of the Year. Ring of Honor started. Dave Taylor. Mighty Inui. Kenji Wakabayashi, Don Callis has won that, and Amy Lee. That's interesting. So, I guess the first thing we should probably look at is, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, as WCW are the top company now at this point. Oh no, WWF are number 1. Okay, we'll go to WWF, and what we're going to do is we're going to go through their current roster and see who we've got. So we've got Ahmed Johnson still in 2004. Akeem the African Dream. Alex Wright's gone to WWF. Barry Horowitz. Big Boss Man. Holly. Still his hair. Bret Hart is still with WWF. And he's the WWF World Champion. And just a good point. It's still WWF. Brother Love. Bull Buchanan. CM Punk has signed with the WWF. Oh, that's... We've had the Punk versus Austin feud, it seems. That's definitely something interesting. Doc's head, Doc Hendricks. Gangrel. Who else is a big shocker? Hunter Hearst Helmsley is still Hunter Hearst Helmsley. And he's retired. Let's look at Triple H. He's a 2-time Intercontinental Champion and a King of the Ring winner. And that's it. That's all which Triple H was able to achieve in his career. That's a big one. Isaac Yankem is still, well, Isaac Yankem. Jerry Lawler still wrestles, it seems. Jim Cornette. Raven is still Johnny Polo and never got over. Ken Anderson signed for WWF. Kevin Kelly. K-Quick. Kurt Angle. Okay, Quick's the Intercontinental Champion, actually. Oh, that's interesting. Leif Cassidy. Mankind is a major star. Maria Kanellis. Mark Henry. Marty Jannetty. Owen Hart is still alive. Did he ever win the big one, though? He did! Owen Hart has won the World Heavyweight Championship. He was the World Heavyweight Champion for a couple of months. 8 defenses. That's not bad. The Paparazzi. Paul Bearer is still going. Razor Ramon is still in the WWF. Scott Norton. Steve Austin is still wrestling. How many times has he won the title? He's a 4-time world champion. Interesting. Definite Hall of Immortals. Not bad. The Goon. Rikishi is the Sultan. Vince McMahon, Viscera, Yokozuna, and Zebekia. But the first thing we're going to look at is who are the current champions. No, we'll look at the shows first, actually. Just going to look at... Start from 2000 events only. We're doing the WrestleMania. So WrestleMania 16. WrestleMania 2000 was main evented by Mankind versus Bret Hart versus Steve Austin for the WWF World Heavyweight Championship. Taker versus Bulldog was semi-main. Hunter Hearst Helmsley versus Tatanka. Owen Hart versus Savio Vega and the Sultan in a triple threat match. Rey Mysterio Jr. and Ahmed Johnson versus Brian Pillman and Dean Malenko. Wow, that's a lot of interesting matches. WrestleMania X7, which is supposedly the best Mania of all time, was main evented by The Undertaker versus Austin for the World Heavyweight title. Bulldog and Mankind versus Hunter Hearst Helmsley and Bret Hart for the Splinter? Oh, I've not heard of them. Don't know who the Splinter are. We'll see if they still exist. I doubt they do. G.I. Bro. That's Booker T. Yep. Oh, wow. G.I. Bro. And other matches. Big matches. I can't really see any big matches, but Jake Roberts versus DDP and Brian Fulton in the year 2001. Love that for WWF. 2002, WrestleMania X8. Main evented by Bret Hart versus Ahmed Johnson. Is in the main event when the semi-main event gets a 99 for Austin and Mankind versus Owen Hart and Big Boss Man. Get Bret Hart versus Ahmed Johnson in the main event. That's bad. Oh, that is really bad. 2003, WrestleMania 19. Owen Hart versus Austin in a cage match for the WWF World Heavyweight title. Great. That's a main event of WrestleMania. That is a great match. 2004, which is the last one we'll do in this episode. WrestleMania 20. Bret versus Owen. Oh, Bret versus Owen, and also the New Rockers, Marty Jannetty and Leif Cassidy, I think it would have been. But Bret Hart versus Owen is the main event of WrestleMania for the world title. Ironically, 10 WrestleManias after their first WrestleMania encounter at WrestleMania 10. So that's all the WrestleMania stuff. Let's go through titles. Who's held all the big titles? Start with the World Heavyweight title. Last time we looked, it was Mankind who was the champion. He lost it back to Bret Hart in November, who lost it to Austin at just before Mania. He lost it to The Undertaker, who lost it to Ahmed Johnson. That's amazing that he's even in the world title picture. Bret Hart won it again in 2002 before dropping it to Austin, who dropped it to Owen for his first title reign. Mankind won it from Owen Hart. Bret Hart won it back from Mankind, and Sid's won the title, reheld the title recently before dropping it back to Bret. Wow. I mean, we're going to talk about the fact that the New Rockers are 9-time tag champions. I'm not going to go into all of the detail, because none of those teams seem odd, except Goldust is one of 3 different partners. The Intercontinental Championship has had a lot more title reigns. So, the ones which look odd to me is Jerry Lawler's a 2-time champion in 2001. Rico Suave, I don't know who he is. The Royal Rumble winners, Bret Hart has now won it 6 times. Bret Hart is a 6-time Royal Rumble winner. Austin, a 2-time winner. Wow. So that's WWF. I'm just going to see stable-wise. Who are their current stables? The Consortium, Owen Hart, Rico Suave, and Scott Norton. And the in-crowd of Big Boss Man, Crush, and Razor Ramon, which is just all muscle. Fair enough. WCW, with $684 million in the bank, and have just signed Sid Vicious, who was WWE champion, not that long ago. Now, if we go through the roster here, the big names we've got to notice are obvious. So we've got Brian Pillman still going in 2005, which is great news. He's still alive. Jericho still with WCW. Daniels has gone to WCW. Dusty is retired, but he's still going. G.I. Bro's gone back to WCW. Giant Silver. Goldberg never got over Hulk Hogan never stopped being over. Let's see, how many times has he won the title now? He's only a 3-time champion. That's not as bad as I was anticipating. Considering he hadn't won the title at all during the last time we did this. Hold on. The Dungeon of Doom still exists? Oh no. Oh no, if the Dungeon of Doom still exists. It's got some weird names in it. Mark Callis. That's a big one. And who's he backstage trouble with? Oh, okay. What's he done for titles? He's been a WCW World Heavyweight Champion. And he won the World War III Battle Royal. Not bad and not bad. Mark Canterbury, Max Muscle. Mr. Ass. Billy Gunn is in WCW. Wow. Nails is here. PCO. Psychosis. Randy Savage. How many times have you held the title at this point? He's a 2-time champion. Hasn't held it since 96. Okay. Mysterio Jr. is maskless. Ric Flair. We look at his title history. How many times has he held the title? 5 times. He's a 6-time US champion. And a 4 consecutive World War III winner. Oh, wow. Road Warrior Hawk. No Animal, though. Rocky Maivia in WCW, though. Is unimportant, though. So nobody really cares about him. He never held a single title. Poor Rocky. Rocky's probably the person who's come out of this the weakest. Shawn Michaels in WCW. He's now the runner of the Texas Wrestling Academy. Very nice. Sid Vicious. Any other big names which don't feel WCW? Sting's still here. 6. Terry Taylor, the Giant. Tony Schiavone. Warrior, the fact that he's still going is insane. Zodiac. And now, I've got to look at these stables because the band camp got Nash, Canterbury, Robert Parker, Al Prof, and Carino. But then the Dungeon of Doom still exists with Kevin Sullivan, Lex Luger, Steven Regal, and Squire David Taylor. They just don't make sense. The Damned of Conan and Rey Mysterio. And the Militia of 6. Barry Windham and Brian Pillman. Weird one. Let's have a look at their Starrcade history, though. Starting in the year 2000. Was main evented by Lex Luger versus Randy Savage, Warrior versus Shawn Michaels, and Ric Flair versus Sting. We've got Giant versus Hogan in a dog collar match, Kevin Nash versus Ricky Morton in a cage match, and the Road Warriors versus the Steiner Brothers in a tables match. What a card, WCW. Hello, this is looking promising. 91, we see Kevin Nash versus the Warrior in a steel cage match, and the Kevin Nash wins to retain the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. Semi-main events of Ric Flair versus the Giant in a cage match, Shawn Michaels versus Mark Callis, and Sting versus Lex Luger in a cage match. This was a cage-heavy show. Wow. 2002, we see Hogan versus Sting and Eddie Guerrero for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. Flair versus Warrior, Michaels versus the Giant, Nash versus Savage, and Bulldog versus Piper. 2003, Warrior versus Guerrero, Callis versus Hogan, Giant versus Nash, Sting versus Flair, and Michaels versus Savage. And of course, 2004, we've already looked at this show, but Sting versus Luger in the main event over Hogan versus Callis. And Sting versus Luger was around there somewhere. So, those are the big 2. Third is All Japan. Who's currently in All Japan? Benoit, I see. Rob Van Dam, Scott Steiner, Eddie Guerrero. Nice. What was there? Oh, just look at that. Rather than looking at their... my words don't seem to want to come out there. But rather than looking at all their entire roster, I'll just go at their... Look at some of their big events from recent times. Oh, no. We're looking at the anniversary show will be their big one, which based on the attendance, I'm right. It's main evented by Kobashi and Kawada versus Benoit and Misawa for the Unified World Tag Championships this year. Previously, it's been main evented by Yui Sano versus Hashimoto. These are some great matches here. Kobashi versus Misawa in 2002. Hashimoto versus Muta. God, All Japan's done very well for itself. I won't look at FMW. We'll look at ECW, though. Who's a company who I'm looking at their roster and I'm like, I don't know how well they're doing compared to some of the other shows we've seen. Got Too Cold Scorpio. Glenn Gilberti's here. Jeff Jarrett's here. Jeff Hardy is here. Matt Hardy's here as well. Miguel Perez. Rob Van Dam. Taz. So look, who's been their world champion? Because I don't really need to worry about the TV champion. But the world champion has been held recently. Oh, not many changes. Sandman held it for literally almost 4 years before dropping it to Damien Kane, who dropped it to Taz, who dropped it to 911, who dropped it to Tatanka, who dropped it to Jeff Jarrett, who dropped it to Rob Van Dam. Small companies that have opened up. TNA is here. TNA has arrived. Jerry Jarrett and Jimmy Hart have opened TNA. Who's their current champions? TNA Heavyweight is Coco Beware. TNA Queen is Marcella Mercedes. The Tag Champions has not currently got a holder. And the TV title is Del Rio, so no X Division. But if you look at their big names, there's not many people on this roster, but we've got DDP is here. Bobby Fulton. Joni Laura as China. Well, not as China, but she's here with TNA. John Cena is in TNA. I don't know who Michaela Martinez... Oh, it's Jillian Hall. Mark Briscoe's here. Mercedes Martinez is here. Shelton Benjamin is here. Spanky's here. And Vader. Oh, the Renegade's here as well. Wow. So TNA's open for business. Ring of Honor as well. Who's their champions? The Arena Championship is their mid-card title. It's Mark Jindrak. The big gold belt by Mike Anthony. And the tag champions are the Battens. See if there's any big names I recognise in their ranks. Adam Pearce. Well, I mean, these are some of the people who in the last episode we were like, are they getting jobs? Well, now they are. Eddie Kingston's here. Jay Lethal is here. Of course, Mike Anthony, we saw as the champion. The Repo Man is here. Loki, Kevin Lawler, John Moxley is in Ring of Honor. Tito Santana, is he still wrestling? Tito Santana is still wrestling at 50. What matches has he been having in Ring of Honor? Repo Man and Tommy Dreamer versus Santana and Duggan. Jim Duggan is still a wrestler in Ring of Honor. Could you imagine that? Jim Duggan in 2004 Ring of Honor. What other? Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. Oh, opened by Excalibur. The Arena Championships, Kenny King. Similar name. Excalibur is booked himself to be the World Heavyweight Champion. And Michael Medesk and Sean Stasiak are your tag champs. Alex Shelley. Daniel Bryan. Or Bryan Danielson, even. Elijah Burke. Joey Ryan. Rocky Romero. Roderick Strong. Scorpio Sky. Shad Gaspard. Sterling James Keaton. There's a lot of names here, but there's a lot of names who we also didn't see. And that's what we're going to have a look at now. We're going to look at those people. I believe this is set up right. Who has maximum of 5 years of being a pro. These are the people who have turned up since our last save, including AJ Styles, who's with All Japan right now. What's his match quality looking like? He's up. Average rating of a 63. He's got a 87 in there. If we look at all years, actually. Highest rated is 52. Average is 52. Not bad. And he had a match with Kenta Kobashi, which gave him his highest rating. Not too shabby. Awesome Kong. Amazing Kong, even. Antonio Banks, which is, of course, MVP. How are you doing match-wise? Have you had any big runs? You've not had any big company runs. You've just been on the indies. Okay. Austin Aries is going here. Bobby Lashley. Oh, pardon me. Bobby Fish is with Noah. That's interesting. If we look at all years, Bobby Fish is currently with Noah. He's been working Noah for a while, it seems. Yeah, he got his last non-Noah show was in November 2003. Bobby Lashley, have you had any signings? Doesn't look like it. Ryan Reeves versus Rodney and Danny Doring versus Danny Basham, Matt Sydal and Bobby Lashley is your only match you've had. Brock Lesnar is with WA. Oh, he's been with TNA. Brock Lesnar has been with TNA. Wow. Brittany Knight is 12, so I don't think she's had any major competitions. But let's have a look at some of Brock Lesnar's matches. Highest is a 75 this year. That is his highest of all time, which was when he teamed up with Tiger Mask and Kentaro Shinga in a 6-man tag. Brody Lee's hired by AAA. Bryan Danielson, we already saw in PWG, and Michinoku Pro he's also in. Candice LeRae is in JWP. Claudio Castagnoli, what are you doing at the moment? Nothing, it seems. CM Punk, we know, is in the WWF, which is big. Colt Cabana's in WCW. I don't know if that's related or anything. Dos Callis Jr., which of course Alberto El Patron is with AAA, which is kind of where you'd expect him to be. Drew Galloway, age 19. Have you had anything yet, Drew? Come on. Doesn't look like you have. If you've not had any matches this year, I doubt you've had any matches previously. Eddie Edwards, Eddie Kingston, El Generico, El Hijo de Fantasmas at CMLL. El Gallo's there. Fergal Devitt is with Noah. They actually changed his name to Prince Devitt as well. Heath Slater. Hiroshi Tanahashi's with New Japan. We see Kazuchika Okada with Michinoku Pro. Nowhere near as good as he will get, but he's still pretty good. Kenny Omega has joined the wrestling industry. Kevin Steen. Kota Ibushi's with Michinoku Pro. Lance Hoyt with AAA. Michael Hutter, that's EC3. He's currently unemployed, unfortunately. That's a shame. Young Bucks. Neither Matt and Nick are employed at the moment. Nick Nemeth. Dolph Ziggler's not employed. Nick Aldis, not employed. Randy Orton, what are you doing? You're with World Wrestling Council and MLW. That's an interesting order for Orton to make. Becky Lynch is with JWP and World Wrestling Council. Ricochet is with World Wild Side. Oh, some great matches here. Some great wrestlers who are coming through at this point. Samoa Joe's with World Wrestling Council and NWA Wild Side. I'm going to have a look at this Wild Side roster because they look good. Nakamura's with New Japan, as you'd expect. Sheamus O'Shaughnessy is currently unemployed. Taiji Shimori is with FMW. And Zack Sabre Jr., let's use him as our bottom one. Unemployed. Let's go and have a look at NWA Wild Side because they look like they've got one hell of a roster. And let's see. It's nowhere near as good as I thought it would be. Johnny Nitro, John Hennigan. Mark Briscoe, Matt Morgan, Matt Sydal, Monty Brown, Ricochet, Samoa Joe, actually, but they also got Tommy Rich. And I guess it's only fair to have a look. We need to have a look at the list we had from the last episode. So we go 6 to 9, which would take us from people who started in 99 to 96. How did these guys get on? Now, afterwards, Goldberg stayed at WCW the entire time. Chris Hero went to Noah. Christian Cage, did you ever get employed, Christian? You're 31 at this point. And you've had one match in your entire time. And it was with Adam Copeland. That's not great. Batista, what did you do? Doesn't seem you had anything happen for you. Eric Young, nope, no employments. Jeff Hardy's had been busy with ECW, Omega. James Storm's been with ECW for a while. Kurt Angle, we know, is still with WWF. He was with Ring of Honor for a while, actually. Yeah, he was hired by Omega and Ring of Honor first, and then went to WWF. Interesting to see some of these guys who were iconic with one company taking a different route to get there. Michael Cole has never had a job. How good is he on announcing 55 and 55? Yeah, no, that's understandable why he's never had a job. Paul White is with WCW. He stayed there the entire time. Probably the highest overall of this era. Ron Killings has again gone on a detour but ended up with the WWF. Rocky Maivia started at the WWF, didn't you? Yep. But then you ended up with WCW. So weird seeing the different order that these people took. Shane. What did Shane do? Shane never got a job. Love that. And I think that is the end. This is going to be the last episode before Christmas. Oh, actually, no. One more thing I do want to have a look at. Which companies died? No new companies have died. Just the AWA, AWF, and the USWA. They were the two companies who have died in the time of this save. So this is going to be the last episode before Christmas. Next video on this channel will be on New Year's Day. And that's when things are going to get very exciting. I'm excited for the 2021 content, because this is our first full year of Total Extreme Wrestling. If you're excited for that, make sure you subscribe. Hit that like button. This is... and there will be another video. The next video will be in 2010 for this save. Then we'll have 2015 and finally 2020. But I've been Ben Chapman. And that was if the WWF and WCW were booked by the TEW AI.